both members of parliament squaring off on this debate are joining this panel. I want to first begin once again by reiterating the news we broke at the top of the show in case Mr. Owaisi and Dr. Swami did not catch it. We have spoken off record to a top NI officer under the UPA who has come out and told us that the cases against some of the individuals that the UPA wanted prosecuted were dud. There was no evidence against them. Yet, his objections noted on files were overruled, and these cases were filed against individuals. And I want to ask, therefore, the basic question. Does this entire news break and the goings-on in court, Mr. Owaisi, prove that innocents were targeted on the back of a political design by the UPA?
Well, you see, you are forgetting the basic premise of governance. That is, the government is always in a continuous form. Parties will come and go. The government is always committed to the constitutional responsibility of upholding rule of law. Now, you have a particular case wherein when an accused of a terrorist crime gets a bail, you have a government who does not file an appeal to get his bail withdrawn. You have a government in power which, after Ajmer Dargah blast case, 2 were convicted, 8 were acquitted. The government said we'll file an appeal. More than a year has passed, appeal has not been filed. You have a government which has a prosecution in which a confession of Asim Anand has been misplaced. And you have a government in power which should stand with victims of terrorism and should not stand with people who are accused of terrorist crimes. So government has basically compromised on their duty to stand with victims. Now you have a government and the spokesperson who have sadistically, they take a pleasure in standing with the accused. I want to know then who is responsible for the killing of 9 people in Mecca Masjid, 2 persons in Ajmer blast. Why did the NIA close the Modasa bomb blast case? Because of lack of evidence. That is why I say that this government has compromised in fight against terrorism, and the threat of terrorism still looms large. The fight against terrorism has been weakened. You can, as an anchor, say no matter whatever you want.
Okay.
But BJP has been badly exposed. It is now the government stand that they're standing with the accused, not with the victims of this
Before I bring in Dr. Swami, sir, I just want to read back to you the statement you made. We have a government that stands with people who are accused of terrorist crimes and not their victims. I remember Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi very passionately standing up for Yaqub Memon and Afzal Guru. Those were not the victims, sir.
Can I answer on that?
Yeah, please. That goes to you.
Do you want me to answer, or you want to get away by making a sermon?
I'm only asking you a question.
Let me tell you on Yaqub Memon. My objection to please, fine. You can ask me as many questions you want. I have come to your program. Feel liberty to ask me as many questions you want. But let me answer to your pertinent question. Yaqub Memon's execution, the executive had power, and that power was used for the Punjab killers of a chief minister. When the Akali Dal went and met this government, the president and this government have not yet executed. My objection was to that. My objection was to save the killers of Rajiv Gandhi. The government had the power. That was my objection on Yaqub Memon. Now, as far as Afzal Guru is concerned, I would ask you that why didn't the UPA at least inform his wife or his family? Am I objecting to the court's judgment? No. I was objecting to the discretionary powers of the executive, which they use at their own convenience according to their own ideology.
Dr. Swami, would you like to respond, sir, on the larger question raised?
Yeah. Well, first of all, as far as the this Mecca Masjid case flopping out, let me first tell Mr. Owaisi that all the papers, including the charge sheet, everything was prepared by the previous government. We didn't change anything. And our NIA counsel argued the matter. And the others, the wakil, the advocates of the accused also argued. And the judge has given a judgment. Now, how is it now? How can Mr. Owaisi say this is because the BJP government didn't want to prosecute these people? I mean, we have not added one single comma full stop to what the UPA had prepared. And all through the arguments, I didn't see anybody saying that our counsels of the NIA are not arguing properly. Then if that was so, then you could have intervened. I have done that in one or two cases, like in the Hashimpura case in the High Court. I have intervened because there was no proper arguments by the UPA government, the Mulayam Singh government at that time. So these are, you know, in Gujarat cases, they have allowed outsiders to intervene. So Mr. Owaisi, being a lawyer by training, should have intervened if at any stage he thought that we are not arguing properly. So it's just making an allegation. It's fashionable, so it's okay. But I'm saying that this is a bogus case. From the day one, I've been saying it's a bogus case. And it was a pattern. Mr. Rahul Gandhi went to the US Embassy in 2006. This is recorded in the WikiLeaks. It have not been denied by any of the sources, any of the people who have been named there. And there he said that the Congress party has decided that Hindu terror is more dangerous than Lashkar-e-Toiba. And then they did a big somersault on Lashkar-e-Toiba in that railway bombing case, Samjhauta Express. After the government of India had submitted documents and gone to the UN and got the Lashkar-e-Toiba declared as a terrorist organization. So then Mr. Chidambaram comes with this, fudging the affidavits for which you have got somebody who is going to give evidence today. So I think this is all a pattern, and they've been caught. And now I think they should be prosecuted. The people who should be prosecuted are Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, and Chidambaram.
Okay, Mr. Owaisi, let me ask you a question. The question is the following. Are politicians such as you, Brinda Karat, Congress, who are questioning the verdict today, playing to a political constituency? I'm aware, sir, that today you decided to join hands with the JDS in Karnataka. Mr. Owaisi.
No, are you unhappy with me joining JDS?
No, I'm only saying that today,
on a day when you unhappy with me joining JDS?
No, the day when you announced your political entry into the battlefield of Karnataka, it's a very handy tool to whip up sentiments against one particular community. Some people would look at it that way. Your response to that, sir?
No. I am thankful that you are saying that you stand with one community, but I don't stand. I am saying the issue is of justice. I am saying that the BJP government, which you are trying to support, unfortunately, does not stand with the victims of terrorist crime. You have a government which is taking sadistic pleasure, in the judgment. I can ask you a simple question, Rahul. Why didn't this government oppose or file an appeal against the bail that was given to Asim Anand and other two accused? It didn't file. Why didn't they file an appeal against the bail given to Asim Anand in Ajmer? Why haven't they yet filed an appeal against the judgment in Ajmer blast case? Why have they closed the Modasa case? Now you say some political leaders take pleasure in playing to the galleries. No. I want to know the government's commitment to terrorism. Is Mr. Swamy representing the government? No. Mr. Swamy is representing a party. Why isn't the government of India coming out and saying that we will not stand with the accused, we will stand with the victims.
But sir,
Who's stopping the government of India?
isn't it true?
Is Mr. Swami a cabinet minister? No, neither are you. My question is to the government. You know, especially a right-wing government always stands with the victims of terrorist offense. Now here you have a right-wing government which takes pleasure in standing with the accused.
Sir, if the government was so committed to only saving Hindus, isn't it true that Hindus have been judged guilty in Gujarat riot cases also? We've also had a recent judgment, as you know, where certain Hindus, sir, have been judged guilty in a state, in a lynching case.
Well, you see, you are turning this into a Hindu and a Muslim debate. I am saying that these are, you are doing it. You are doing it for TRP ratings. I wish you all the best. Now, please listen to me. I am saying that people who were charged with the lynching offense belong to the Hindutva ideology, which is diametrically opposed to the religion of Hinduism. There's a huge difference, and Rahul Shiv Shankar should know this difference between Hindutva and Hinduism.
All I'm saying,
people who have indulged in the genocide of people in Gujarat, they have been convicted. Here you have a terrorist case.
But isn't it okay?
A bomb with plastic
I don't want to keep buttonholing you on this.
A 12-year-old boy, his head was cut into two. His head was cut into two, and now you are not talking about the victims. I was expecting that when I go to this program, Rahul Shiv Shankar would be asking Subramanian Swami, what will happen to those victims who died? What will happen to those 80 Muslim boys who were picked up, tortured, illegally confined, giving electric shocks on their private part?
I was hoping that some politician today
interested in Hindus and Muslims.
Okay, I was hoping that some politician today would ask that question of Mr. Rahul Gandhi directly as to why he proceeded with cases in which there was no evidence. Now, this ex-NIA official has spoken to me personally and to Nikunj Garg, our editor, Internal Security. He was so exasperated by the dialogue. So no one is asking those questions. Now we have to go all the way back to 2008.
That NIA officer is a coward. That NIA officer should come out, show his face.
He might just be doing that.
Tell the same thing.
I don't want to speak for him, but he might just be doing that.
You have an ex-Home Secretary. Listen to me. You have an ex-Home Secretary who's now a minister in the cabinet who had used this word Hindu terror. You have an ATS chief who has joined the BJP. Why aren't you talking about that?
Dr. Swami, the concern is, what about justice? What about the victims?
Well, that's a separate question. Just because some people died, therefore innocent people should be prosecuted. Is that what Mr. Owaisi is saying? What was the horror here was that absolutely innocent people were picked up and subjected to most horrible torture. I know in the case of the other one, that Major or Colonel Purohit and that Sadhvi Pragya, her whole health has been completely ruined. And the kind of torture they put her through, she was a sadhvi. They did all kinds of things that women should not be done to in a jail or anywhere else. And same thing with Purohit, who doesn't want even to remember what was done to him. We are more concerned about that. Yes, I agree that we must find out who did this, these blasts that have taken place, whether it is in the Mecca Masjid or in the Samjhauta Express and so on. We must find out. And I wouldn't be surprised that it will be very uncomfortable for Mr. Owaisi when he finds that who the real killers were in that case. But that has got nothing to do with this present innocent people being freed. That's a totally different thing. It cannot confuse the two.
Okay. Mr. Owaisi, would you like to respond? Member of Parliament to a Member of Parliament.
Well, Mr. Swami very conveniently forgets that if you don't prosecute well, the result would be acquittal. Mr. Swami, you have criticized this government for its bad prosecution in 2G case, despite you being responsible for getting that case in the Supreme Court and the High Court subsequently. That is what I'm saying, Mr. Swami, that your government did not prosecute in 2G well, the result was acquittal. Your government did not prosecute well in these terror-related cases, and the result is acquittal. Mr. Swami, may I remind you and the nation that this terror threat is still looming over our head. If you as a person and your party stand in support of these accused, then I'll tell you that be ready, because these people are out there. They have killed Gauri Lankesh, Kalsagare and Pansare. Now this can happen anytime. You know, you are forgetting that terrorism has to be dealt with a stern and a tight government. But here you have a government which is weak and which has capitulated, because all these accused in some way were associated with the ideology of Hindutva, and this government feels comfortable with Hindutva ideology.
Okay, Dr. Swami, quick response before I bring in my next question.
Well, yeah. Well, just a quick response is that classic case of state-sponsored terrorism was the Hashimpura massacre. It was a genocide. I don't see Mr. Owaisi getting excited about that. And in fact, when I stood there, it was all these left-wing ladies who were opposing me. They didn't want this to be treated as a genocide. And of course, the case is still going on. I'm fighting it. But I don't see any of these people who are shedding tears today for the victims of Mecca Masjid fighting there for 42 young boys of the Muslim community being taken by truck 20 kilometers and shot one by one. That's a horrible case, and that should have attracted the attention of all Muslim leaders and all the so-called liberal leaders who bleed hearts, whose hearts bleed for the minorities.
Okay, let me ask you, Mr. Owaisi, let me ask you, which ideology was Digvijay Singh espousing when he stood up and said that the Batla House encounter was a fake one, despite the fact that a police officer, decorated police officer, was killed? What ideology was Salman Khurshid espousing when he suggested that Sonia Gandhi shed tears when she heard that certain Muslims were killed at the Batla House?
Well, you should call these Congress leaders. What do you expect me to speak for them? No, I am bitterly opposed to Congress party. That is why I am fighting against them in Karnataka and everywhere. Why do you expect me to be a spokesperson for all these honorable gentlemen? You call them and ask them. I cannot speak for Congress party. For God's sake, don't demean me by asking me to be a spokesperson for all these honorable great leaders. You call them and ask them. I don't give a damn about them or that party. You ask them.
I'm very, very happy, sir, that you have today called out the hypocrisy of the Congress party. Now, I want to ask you, many people say that the JDS is the B team. The Congress continually says it of the BJP, and you're with them today. So I'm only talking about political hypocrisy here.
Well, the Congress party should know that the I'll answer. The Congress party should jolly well know that the JDS is supporting them in that Bengaluru Municipal Corporation. So what was the Kumaraswamy at that time? Holy cow. Now because Kumaraswamy is a contender to become the next chief minister of Karnataka, the Congress, according to its own desires and according to its own hypocrisy and according to its own attitude, will call anyone unsecular. So this is the old game played by the Congress party and BJP. Both of these national parties are no more required in this nation. We require the regional parties for a qualitative change in politics, as espoused by my Chief Minister KCR. That is what the nation requires. These both national parties have failed.
Well, sir, I leave it for the viewers to decide. They have to elect these political parties and make a decision. I just wanted to today, by the means of this program, establish the pernicious practice of labeling denominations with a terror tag so that you can appeal to a particular audience. I leave it at that. The news are coming up with other facets of the big breaking development, the big disclosure on India Upfront. That continues on the news. Stay with us. Don't go away.